Most KDP publishers think the secret to success is finding untapped niches with zero competition, but that's what's actually killing their income streams. The most profitable publishers I know deliberately choose competitive niches. The difference is that they just know how to find the gaps that everyone else misses. Today, I'm going to show you the exact three-step process our students use to find these low competition sweet spots that can generate consistent royalties. I'm Karla Marie from Fiction Profits Academy, and back in 2013, I was a struggling yoga teacher with a toddler and mounting debt. Fast forward to today, and we've now helped over 10,000 students build income streams through KDP publishing. When I started KDP in 2014, I had no idea what I was doing. I started with nonfiction, hiring ghostwriters, throwing books at the wall, hoping something would stick. And you know what happened? I was getting maybe 10 to 20 downloads a month. My books were buried on page 47 of Amazon because I was doing what everyone else does, picking random topics and just hoping for the best. Thankfully, I eventually figured out the smart way. Instead of guessing, I started researching what readers are actually buying. I found gaps in the market and I positioned my books where they'd actually get seen. This simple shift took me from barely earning grocery money to building a six-figure publishing business. And yes, this process works, whether you're writing the books yourself or hiring ghostwriters like I do. Today, I'm going to walk you through our proven three-step niche research process, starting with step 1, target the right market. First, we identify niches where women are the primary readers. This is because they're Amazon's biggest ebook consumers and they buy consistently. Step 2, evaluate the competition using our BSR criteria. Then we use specific bestseller rank criteria to determine if a niche has enough demand but is still not oversaturated. Step 3, find your trope sweet spot. Finally, we identify the specific story elements, what we call tropes, that readers in that niche can't resist. The key is to develop a deep understanding of reader psychology and find your perfect spot in the market. Step 1, target the right market. Fiction versus nonfiction positioning. Let's start with step 1, targeting the right market. And I need to be really direct with you here. If you want fast results and consistent income, you need to focus on fiction, specifically romance and its subgenres. Now, if you're thinking, but Karla, I don't read romance, or that doesn't interest me. Listen, when I started my yoga business, I didn't love dealing with business licenses and insurance either. But you know what I loved? Paying my bills and having financial freedom. The truth is, your personal preferences don't determine what sells. The market decides what sells. And here's the data that matters. When we analyze Amazon's top 100 bestsellers, 50 to 80% are romance novels. Always. Romance readers are different from every other type of reader. For one, they're voracious. They will read a new book every single night. Compare that to someone who buys a meditation book. They're not buying a new meditation book every week. Romance readers are constantly hungry for the next story, which means consistent income for you. Now, you might be worried about the competition. After all, if romance sells so well, isn't everyone doing it? I hear you. After seeing how romance is so popular, it's easy to assume that it's oversaturated. But popularity and oversaturation are two different things. Romance has massive demand, which creates room for many successful publishers if you position yourself correctly. FPA's recommended niches. At FPA, we've tested hundreds of niches over the years. After analyzing what our students have had the most success with, here are our top recommendations. High heat romance categories. Contemporary romance. This is your bread and butter, set in modern times with relatable situations. Mafia romance. Darker, more intense with the bad boy appeal that readers crave. Sports romance. It combines athleticism with romance with huge built-in audience. Billionaire romance. The ultimate fantasy escape with financial security theme. Paranormal romance. Adds supernatural elements for readers wanting something beyond reality. Clean romance, for those wanting less explicit content. Small town contemporary, there are cozy settings, community connections. And sweet romance has all the emotion without the steam. Mystery and suspense for long-term thinkers. Cozy mystery, think amateur sleuths in small towns, usually with serious potential. Psychological thriller, it's more intense, it requires stronger writing skills. Now, before you make your choice based on what sounds interesting to you, stop. Remember, you're not the target reader. The biggest mistake I see new publishers make is choosing a niche because they personally enjoy it rather than because it has proven market demand. Another trap people fall into is thinking they need to stick with just one niche forever. You don't. But as a beginner, focus on mastering one niche first. Once you're generating consistent royalties, then you can expand. Another mistake is overthinking the choice. All of these niches can generate income if you follow our process. Pick one that has good market indicators, which I'll show you how to evaluate, and commit to it for your first 3 to 4 books minimum. Now, before you choose, you need to understand our evaluation criteria. Step 2, the BSR evaluation method. Introduce BookBeam, an optional but recommended tool. For this next step, I'm going to show you both the free way and the professional way to evaluate niches. The free way works, but if you're serious about this business, I recommend investing in a tool called BookBeam. It'll save you hours of manual research. But let me show you the underlying principles first so you understand what you're looking for. The FPA BSR formula. Here's our proven formula for identifying profitable niches. And pay attention because this is where most people make expensive mistakes. Rule number 1, the top book in the category should be ranked around 500 or better. Rule number 2, the 100th book should be ranked around 10,000. Let me show you why this matters. If I go to Amazon and look at, let's say, contemporary romance, see how book number 1 is ranked 127? That's fantastic. Now, if I scroll down to book number 100, it's ranked 8,943. This tells me there's strong demand throughout the entire top 100, not just for the bestsellers. Compare that to a dead category where the number 1 book might be ranked 15,000 and book number 100 is ranked 200,000. That's a category you want to avoid. And here's why so many new publishers fail. They see a category that looks less competitive because there aren't many good books, but what they're really seeing is a category with no readers. The mistake here is thinking less competition automatically means easier money. Wrong. Less competition often means less demand. You want to find the sweet spot where there's strong demand but room for new books to succeed. Another red flag to watch out for is this. If you see huge gaps in the rankings, like book number 10 is ranked 2,000 but book number 11 is ranked 25,000, that tells you there's a cliff where demand drops off dramatically. You want steady, consistent demand throughout the top 100. Free method walkthrough. Here's how to do this research for free. Go to Amazon KDP categories, navigate to your target genre. Check the bestseller rank of book number 1 and book number 100. Look for that sweet spot, around 500 for number 1 and around 10,000 for number 100. Now, as tempting as it is, don't make the mistake of checking the rankings once and then making a decision. You don't want to do this because rankings can fluctuate. So check the same category 3 to 4 times over different days to see if the pattern holds. If you see consistent, strong rankings, that's your green light. Also, don't just look at the overall category. Drill down into subcategories. Sometimes the main romance category looks oversaturated, but contemporary romance, sports, has perfect numbers. BookBeam Advantage. Now, if you want to speed this process up dramatically, BookBeam shows you all this data instantly. It displays bestseller ranks right on the page, plus estimated monthly earnings, publication dates, and category search volumes. What I love about BookBeam is it prevents the most costly mistake in niche research, spending weeks creating a book only to discover the category doesn't have enough buyers. BookBeam shows you estimated sales volumes so you can see not just if books are selling, but how much they're potentially earning. It also shows you how long books have been on the market. If you see books that have been live for 6+ months still maintaining good ranks, that tells you the niche has staying power, not just flash in the pan trends. The other thing BookBeam reveals that most people miss in manual research: publication frequency. If you see that successful authors in your target niche are publishing monthly, that tells you that reader appetite can support frequent releases, which is exactly what you want for building momentum. Step 3 is where the magic happens: finding your trope sweet spot. At FPA, we define a trope as any story element that makes readers instantly think, I have to read this book. This is probably the biggest gap between successful publishers and everyone else. Most people think they just need to write a good story, but readers don't browse Amazon looking for good stories. They browse looking for specific scenarios that they can't resist. Think about it this way. When you're scrolling Netflix, you're not looking for good movies. You're looking for a comedy with a strong female lead or thriller with a twist ending. Romance readers work the same way. Tropes are your secret weapon. They're what separates successful publishers from people whose books collect digital dust. But here's where most people go wrong. Examples of profitable tropes. Let me give you some examples of trope combinations that work. Single dad plus small town equals instant reader interest. It appeals to nurturing instinct and cozy setting. Enemies to lovers plus billionaire equals romance catnip. Conflict plus fantasy. Grumpy sunshine plus next door neighbor equals reliable sales. Opposites attract plus convenience. The key is stacking 2 to 3 compatible tropes in each book. Here's the mistake that kills books before they even launch. Choosing tropes you find interesting instead of tropes your target readers crave. I see this all the time. Someone thinks age gap romance sounds interesting to me without researching whether that's actually selling in their chosen niche. In contemporary romance, a 10-year age gap might work great. In sweet romance, it might be too controversial for the audience. Another trap is trying to be original with your tropes. Look, I get it. You want to stand out, but readers have favorite tropes for a reason. They work. Your job isn't to reinvent romance. It's to deliver the familiar in a fresh way. How to research winning trope combinations. Here's how to find what's working right now. Go to your target category's bestseller list. Look at the top 20 book titles and covers. Identify patterns in what tropes they're featuring. Check their blurbs for additional trope mentions. Look for gaps, so trope combinations that aren't oversaturated. For example, if I see lots of billionaire doctor books, but not many billionaire CEO books, that might be an opportunity. But again, don't do this research once and think you're done. This is because trope popularity shifts. What worked 6 months ago might be oversaturated now. So you want to make this a monthly habit. Also, don't just look at titles. Covers tell you a lot about what tropes are selling. If every successful book in your niche has a guy in a business suit, that tells you the billionaire trope is hot. If you see lots of small town settings, that tells you readers want cozy, familiar environments. But the biggest mistake in trope research is trying to stack too many. Yes, you want a few tropes, but more isn't always better if it doesn't make sense. If your book is enemies to lovers plus fake marriage plus single dad plus billionaire plus firefighter plus small town plus age gap, you've created a confusing mess. Pick your strongest 2 to 3 and nail those. The author back catalog strategy. Here's a pro tip. Find a successful self-published author in your target niche and study their entire catalog. Look at their book titles, covers, and blurbs. This gives you a blueprint for what's working in that specific market. But don't just look at their latest book. Look at their progression. How did their trope choices evolve? Which books got the most reviews? Which ones have the highest rankings? I like to find authors who've published 10 or more books in the same niche because their catalog becomes a case study in what readers actually buy versus what they claim to want. Remember, you're not just looking to copy them. You want to get inspired by the patterns you see. If an author has had success with 5 different grumpy hero books, that tells you the trope has staying power in that niche. And then to really take this to the next level, you want to look at 3 to 5 successful authors in your target niche to identify the patterns that transcend individual writing styles. Also, pay attention to their release frequency. If successful authors in your niche are releasing monthly, that tells you reader appetite supports that pace. If they're releasing quarterly, that might indicate the niche prefers the longer, more complex books. One more thing about trope research that most people miss: seasonal patterns. Some tropes perform better at certain times of the year. Holiday themed books peak in November, December. Summer romance does well in May to July. Factor this into your publishing schedule. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this sounds great, but how do I actually write these books? Or what about covers and marketing? That's exactly why I created Fiction Profits Academy, to give you the complete A to Z system for building a profitable KDP business. If you want to learn our complete method, including how to hire ghostwriters, create compelling covers, write best-selling blurbs, and launch your books for maximum impact, I've put together a free training that walks you through our entire process. Just click the link in the description to save your spot. Fair warning though, this isn't about getting rich quick. This is about building a real business that can generate consistent royalties month after month. But if you're willing to put in the work and follow a proven system, this could be the side business that changes your financial future. I'll see you on the next video.